Some words don't arrive with drama. They arrive with gravity. And when Yulong finally spoke after weeks of silence, he didn't offer excuses, he didn't point fingers, and he didn't hide behind polite phrases. He said 6 words that stopped the room cold. I was wrong as a father. Not wrong in public, not wrong on a stage. Wrong in the quiet places where families do their hardest work. So what pushed him to say it now? And why are so many people watching this moment and thinking, that could have been me? Stay with me, because this isn't just celebrity news. It's a lesson in love, responsibility, and what real strength looks like when life doesn't follow your plan. For weeks, Yulong said nothing. To some, that silence looked distant or evasive. To others, it felt uncomfortable. But silence is rarely empty. Often it is crowded with thoughts that have nowhere to go. In this case, the silence was not avoidance, it was containment. It was a man holding together a world that no longer made sense, choosing restraint over release because he believed that speaking too soon might cause more harm than good. For many adults, especially those raised to value responsibility and composure, silence becomes a shield, not against the world, but against collapse. What made this silence powerful was not its length, but its weight. Viewers could sense that something unresolved was pressing beneath the surface. The calm exterior did not signal peace, it signaled effort. Holding steady takes energy, and the longer one holds, the heavier it becomes. This is why the moment he finally spoke carried such force. It was not a calculated reveal. It was the natural end of endurance. Silence, after all, is not the absence of emotion. It is often the place where emotion waits until the body can no longer carry it alone. When Yulong said, I was wrong as a father, he did something deeply countercultural. He did not soften the sentence. He did not redirect blame. He did not frame his words as misunderstanding or circumstance. He chose responsibility without protection. This kind of courage is unsettling because it offers no defense. It does not ask to be excused. It stands exposed. In many societies, especially for men in leadership or parental roles, admitting personal failure feels like surrender. Yet here, it was the opposite. It was clarity. The power of the statement lies in what it rejects. It rejects the idea that good intentions are enough. It rejects the comfort of, I did my best, when reflection reveals something was missing. And most importantly, it rejects the belief that authority or provision alone define parenthood. For viewers, especially those who have raised children or cared for families, the sentence resonates because it touches a private fear. The possibility that love, when shaped by the wrong assumptions, can still leave wounds. Acknowledging that truth requires a level of honesty that few reach, and even fewer share aloud. When young Mei Mei began to cry, the tone of the moment shifted. Until then, the conversation lived largely in words, controlled, measured, reflective. Her tears moved it into the body, into lived experience. These were not theatrical tears. They arrived quietly or almost reluctantly, as though held back for far too long. In that restraint, many viewers recognized a familiar pattern, the emotional labor of staying composed so that others can remain functional. Her tears did not accuse, they revealed. What changed the room was not sadness alone, but recognition. In that moment, the story ceased to be about one man's reflection and became about shared endurance within a family. Her tears carried years of fear, uncertainty, and nights spent thinking ahead while pretending everything was manageable. For many watching, especially women and long-term partners, this was the most resonant moment. It reflected the experience of carrying emotional weight quietly, not because one wants to, but because someone has to. Her tears made visible what had previously been unseen, and in doing so, transformed the confession into a shared truth, rather than a solitary one. At first glance, the story appears to center on external hardship, But as it unfolds, it becomes clear that fate itself was not the deepest conflict. The deeper struggle was emotional distance created by good intentions. Yulong tried to protect his family by being strong, decisive, and composed. In doing so, he unknowingly withdrew from emotional openness. Young Mei Mei, meanwhile, faced her fear internally, believing she should not add to his burden. Two people, each trying to shield the other, ended up standing alone. This is a common and painful dynamic in long-term relationships. Loneliness does not always come from absence. It often comes from silence shared too long. When vulnerability is postponed indefinitely, connection weakens, even in loving homes. The significance of this realization is that it removes blame from circumstance and places it within human patterns. It suggests that suffering is not only shaped by what happens to us, but by how we choose to face it together or apart. The story reminds viewers that emotional distance can exist even where commitment is strong, and that recognizing it is the first step towards restoring closeness. One of the most lasting contributions of this moment is its redefinition of fatherhood. Yulong does not describe being a father as having answers, controlling outcomes, or standing unshaken. Instead, he speaks of presence. Presence requires humility. It asks a parent to remain emotionally available even when there is fear, confusion, or uncertainty. It replaces pride with attentiveness and authority with empathy. This definition does not diminish responsibility, it deepens it. For many viewers, especially older audiences who grew up equating parenthood with endurance, this reframing can be quietly transformative. It suggests that showing uncertainty does not weaken a parent's role, it humanizes it. This perspective also shifts the focus from results to relationships. A child, as Yulong reflects, does not need a flawless figure. They need someone who stays, listens, and responds honestly. This idea resonates across cultures because it speaks to a universal truth. Emotional safety matters as much as physical security. In choosing presence over pride, fatherhood becomes less about image and more about connection. If this story moved you, let it be more than a headline. Let it be a reminder that real strength is not silence, it's presence. If you value thoughtful updates that focus on humanity, relationships, and the moments that genuinely matter, please subscribe to Update X244H and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story. Thank you for watching, and wherever you are in the world, take care of yourself and take care of the people you love. We'll see you in the next video.